Last night, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia circulated this memo presenting a compromise proposal on federal voting rights legislation that his party has been trying so desperately to pass. It was an encouraging move because earlier this month, he announced that he would not support the sweeping voting rights bill known as the For the People Act as it currently stands. And Democrats, including voting rights activist Stacey Abrams, endorsed Senator Manchin's compromise, signaling the party might be willing to get behind it.
I am endorsing the fact that we now have a list of priorities and that Joe Manchin is at the table and he's part of the conversation. It's an important step forward as we try to protect the freedom to vote and protect access to the vote, that all 50 Democratic senators are part of the conversation. I think that he makes common sense opportunities available for compromise.
But Mitch McConnell, of course, swiftly rejected the compromise on behalf of Senate Republicans today, writing, quote, "The plan endorsed by Stacey Abrams is no compromise." And Republican Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri, who Manchin recently called a, quote, good friend, also publicly shut down the proposal.
I actually think when Stacey Abrams immediately endorsed Senator Manchin's proposal, it became the Stacey Abrams substitute, not the Joe Manchin substitute.
So the questions remain. Can Democrats come together to pass any meaningful voting rights legislation? Judith Brown Dianis is the executive editor at the Advancement Project National Office, a racial justice and civil rights organization. And Megher Hatcher Mays is the director of democracy policy at the progressive advocacy group Indivisible. Judith, what are the specifics of the Manchin compromise and what is left out that may cause a rift with progressives?
So, hi, Zerlina first, but the Manchin compromise has some things in it, like making Election Day a federal holiday, no partisan gerrymandering, and move it over to kind of computer generated maps. But it also has some things in it. It does have voter ID in it, but it seems like it's a more flexible voter ID than we have opposed in the past, which has been very restrictive. But it has some problems. One of those problems is that it significantly weakens the Department of Justice and when they go after states that have discriminated, and then it allows local officials to do purging in a much more aggressive way, and so it's a problem. I think a lot of people saw it as a start, including Stacey Abrams. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The GOP has shown you who they are. They are saying, we don't want to compromise. We don't want your bill, because the thing we have to remember is that they are the party of states' rights. And so they don't want the federal government in the business of making sure that voters are protected against state voter suppression laws.
It's important context. And Megan, that was pretty fast. The whiplash going from Stacey Abrams endorsing Manchin's compromise to Mitch McConnell and Roy Blunt coming out and being like, yeah, just kidding. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said he believed all 50 Republicans would oppose Senator Manchin's slimmed-down elections compromise. Do Democrats keep falling for the okie doke? Do you think that Democrats are making the mistake of trying to capitulate to Republicans over and over, and then nothing materializes?
Right. Yeah. They at least want to be able to check it off the list that they talked to some Republicans and they gave it a good faith effort to try to get some Republican support, but they never do. They never get that Republican support that they try so hard to get. This is a really bad approach, not just because it's folly to try to convince Republicans to let people participate in democracy. It's a huge time waster as well. And time is one of the most powerful tools the Republicans have right now in this trifecta. Wasting time is one of the best things they can do to block Joe Biden's agenda from being enacted into law. And it's really critically important that Democrats stop falling for it, because we really don't have much time. We're running up on some really significant deadlines here. Census data is going to be released in August. States are going to start drawing congressional maps. Some of these maps are going to need to be finalized by February of 2022, and then the midterms are just around the corner after that. So again, I get the impulse to at least try to demonstrate that you've given it a shot, but we're reaching the point where it's just driving the car into the same wall over and over again, and we really just don't have time for that.
Judith, do you think Democrats understand the sense of urgency of activists like Megan at Indivisible and others who have been on the ground trying to push their senators, no matter what state they're in, to do something about voting rights? Do they get that sense of urgency that is so clear on the ground?
Well, Democrats may not understand the urgency that we feel in the voting rights movement, but they will feel it in the fall of 2022. And they might feel it in a really bad way. Because, I mean, as Megan said, we have redistricting coming up. Don't forget, we have a Supreme Court case that's coming down in the next couple of weeks that could actually kill the rest of the Voting Rights Act that exists. And so when we move into 2022 and those fall elections, you know, for more barriers to be in place is going to be a problem. So, I mean, we have litigation, Advancement Project's involved in cases in Georgia and Florida. We are part of Black Voters Matter bus ride that's coming to DC. And we're doing all that we can. But now it's time for the Democrats to step up. It's time for Senator Manchin to understand that the House is on fire and you've got to stop playing with people that don't want to play with you.
Yeah, I feel like you probably don't want to play with people who don't want to play with you. It's an early lesson you learn in life, and you just sort of move on to people who like you, right? I mean, why keep trying if people don't like you? Megan, is filibuster reform necessary to get movement on anything? I mean, I'm doing the math. You still need 60 votes, and I don't know. I don't see 10 Republicans. How do you get to 10?
I don't see one Republican for the Manchin compromise or S1 as it currently stands. We absolutely need to get rid of the filibuster. And I think one thing I'd say, actually, to your previous question about whether or not Democrats are feeling the urgency, I agree they will, but I do think they are right now. I think, you know, the For the People Act in its current form is incredibly popular. Like an End Citizens United poll showed 79% of the people in West Virginia support this bill. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for activists in West Virginia who were regularly in contact with Joe Manchin, even after he had put out that op-ed saying he was not going to vote for the People Act earlier this month. That shows that organizing works. We've moved this far just in 2 weeks because activists in West Virginia, especially Black activists and activists of color, the NAACP down there, did a lot of work to really impress upon Joe Manchin the significance of the For the People Act. But we cannot pass it if the filibuster, as we currently know it, is in place. The good news is, as Senator Franken mentioned before, this leaked recording from the No Labels donors lunch or whatever it was, he did indicate that he'd be open to some changes, which is good because not even his pal, Lisa Murkowski, who had signed on to his letter about reauthorizing the Voting Rights Act, seems to be anywhere in the mix on this For the People Act compromise.
Right. I just don't see how you get to 60, but maybe somebody out there has magic math that I'm just not aware of.